night was quiet, the air thick with an unnatural stillness. I lay in bed, bathed in the dim glow of the streetlight outside my window. It was the kind of night that makes every creak in the house echo like a distant scream. That's when I first heard it, the sound of children's laughter drifting through the air. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the wind, a product of my overactive imagination, seeking patterns in the random noises of the night. But as the laughter persisted, rising and falling in an eerie cadence, I couldn't ignore it any longer. It seemed to be coming from my backyard, just beyond the veil of darkness that the feeble streetlight failed to penetrate. I sat up in bed, straining my ears to catch every nuance of the haunting laughter. It was a sound both innocent and unsettling, like a distorted memory from a childhood long forgotten. What puzzled me most was the fact that I lived alone, in a house surrounded by a high wooden fence. The laughter couldn't possibly be coming from the neighboring yards. As the nights passed, the laughter became a ritual. Each night, just as the clock struck midnight, the children's laughter would commence. It felt almost like a sinister lullaby, a melody meant to lure me into the depths of the unknown. Unable to resist the mystery, I decided to investigate. With a sense of trepidation, I slipped out of bed and crept through the darkness of my house. The laughter grew louder as I approached the back door, a chorus of unseen children reveling in their hidden game. I hesitated for a moment, my hand trembling as I reached for the doorknob. The backyard was bathed in moonlight, casting long, eerie shadows across the unkempt grass. The laughter reached its crescendo just as I stepped outside, and then, as if on cue, it ceased abruptly. The sudden silence was deafening, and I found myself standing in the stillness of the night, surrounded by an unsettling calm. I scanned the backyard, half expecting to see a group of children playing in the shadows. But there was nothing. No sign of life. No evidence that anyone had been there. Only the faint rustling of leaves in the wind and the distant hum of the city beyond. Determined to unravel the mystery, I ventured further into the yard. The air seemed to thicken as I moved, and a chill ran down my spine. The laughter started again, echoing from an unseen source. It was as if the very fabric of the night was conspiring against me, teasing me with glimpses of an otherworldly game. I reached the far end of the yard, where an old oak tree stood sentinel in the darkness. The laughter now seemed to emanate from its gnarled branches, whispering secrets only the night could comprehend. I circled the tree, peering into its twisted limbs, but found nothing. The laughter danced around me, a phantom dance that left me feeling both intrigued and unnerved. Night after night, the ritual repeated itself. The laughter would draw me into the backyard, only to fall silent as soon as I stepped outside. It became a maddening cycle, a relentless puzzle that refused to be solved. I started to question my sanity, wondering if the laughter was a figment of my imagination or a manifestation of something more sinister. Desperation took hold, and I decided to set up cameras in the yard, hoping to capture evidence of the mysterious children. The laughter continued, undeterred by my feeble attempts to understand its origin. The footage revealed nothing but an empty yard, and the occasional sway of the trees in the wind. As the days turned into weeks, the laughter evolved. It no longer sounded innocent. Instead, it took on a malevolent edge, like a group of children playing a game with higher stakes. I became consumed by an overwhelming sense of unease, as if I were a pawn in a game orchestrated by forces beyond my comprehension. One night, unable to resist the pull any longer, I ventured into the yard, armed with a flashlight and a sense of grim determination. The laughter echoed around me, louder and more distorted than ever. I reached the oak tree, the supposed epicenter of the mysterious game, and shone the flashlight into its twisted branches. To my horror, I saw shadows moving among the leaves, shadows that took the form of children, their faces obscured by darkness. They laughed, their voices a dissonant symphony that sent shivers down my spine. I stumbled back, my heart racing, but the children remained elusive, slipping between the branches like ethereal specters. In a desperate attempt to communicate, I called out to them. "Who are you? What do you want?" I shouted into the night, my voice swallowed by the haunting laughter. The children paused, their unseen eyes fixed on me. Then, as if mocking my inquiry, they resumed their game, disappearing into the inky blackness. With a newfound sense of dread, I retreated to the safety of my house. The laughter followed me, echoing through the walls, as if mocking my futile attempts to understand its origin. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by the constant soundtrack of spectral children playing their cryptic game. Days blurred into nights, and I found myself on the brink of exhaustion. The laughter had become a relentless tormentor, a malevolent force that invaded every corner of my existence. It was no longer confined to the backyard. It echoed in the empty rooms of my house, reverberating through the halls like a sinister anthem. In a last-ditch effort to break free from the grip of the unseen children, I sought the help of a paranormal investigator. The expert arrived with an array of equipment, determined to unravel the mystery that had consumed my life. Together, we ventured into the backyard as the laughter reached a fever pitch. The investigator's tools flickered and beeped, detecting anomalies that defied explanation. Yet, as we searched for answers, the laughter intensified, surrounding us like a tangible force. The investigator's confident demeanor wavered, replaced by a look of unease that mirrored my own. Suddenly, the laughter ceased, leaving us in a suffocating silence. The investigator, his face pale, whispered, "They're watching us." He pointed to the old oak tree, where the shadows of the unseen children seemed to coalesce into a tangible presence. With a sense of dread, I followed his gaze. The air around the tree shimmered, distorting the moonlight in a surreal dance. And then, as if emerging from the very fabric of the night, the spectral children materialized before us. Their eyes, vacant and hollow, stared into our souls. The laughter had transformed into a haunting melody, a symphony of sorrow that echoed through the air. The investigator and I stood frozen, our breath caught in our throats, as the children reached out to us with ethereal hands. In that moment, I understood the nature of their game. It was a game of lost innocence, a reflection of the tragedy that had stolen their lives. They were trapped in a limbo between worlds, forever playing in the shadows, unable to move on. As the children surrounded us, Their whispers filled the air. "Help us," they pleaded, their voices a haunting chorus of desperation. The investigator and I, bound by the weight of their sorrow, could do nothing but bear witness to the spectral tragedy that unfolded before us. The night seemed to stretch into eternity as the children retraced the steps of their final moments. Their laughter became a lament, a requiem for the stolen years that echoed through the haunted expanse of the backyard. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the children faded into the darkness, leaving behind a lingering sense of sorrow. The investigator and I were left standing in the silent aftermath, haunted by the spectral echoes of the children's tragedy. The backyard, once a playground for the unseen, now bore the weight of a history untold. As the first light of dawn broke through the horizon, I realized that I had become a witness to a spectral reenactment, a glimpse into a world beyond the veil of the living. In the days that followed, the backyard remained silent. The laughter had ceased, replaced by a solemn stillness that hung in the air like a fading echo. The paranormal investigator left, his mind grappling with the inexplicable events that had unfolded. I, too, was left to ponder the thin line between the living and the spectral, forever changed by the haunting encounter with the silent children. The oak tree, once a focal point of their spectral game, stood as a silent sentinel, its branches whispering secrets only the night could comprehend. The backyard, once a stage for the unseen, now held the weight of a tragedy untold. And I, a witness to the spectral drama, carried the echoes of the children's laughter, forever etched into the fabric of my existence. As the seasons changed and life moved forward, the memory of the silent children lingered like a ghostly presence in the corners of my mind. The backyard, once a place of mystery and dread, became a solemn reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the spectral. And in the quiet moments of the night, when the air grew thick with an otherworldly stillness, I couldn't help but wonder if the children were still there, playing their game in the shadows beyond the moonlight.